Yeah, I am not handsome.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tales 365 Shake Up with the Tippling Brothers. My name is Tad Carducci.
And I'm Paul Tanguay.
And we are the Tippling Brothers. Yes. And we're funny guys, too. Thank you very much for being here with us. Yeah. Thank you very much to Tales of the Cocktail and Tales 365 for allowing us to be here with you.
We're not so much brothers. You know, everybody thinks we are brothers, but look at him, look at me.
Handsome. Not so much. Not so smart. Intelligent. Yeah. No, we are not brothers. We are brothers in spirit and brothers in spirits, certainly.
It's been how long, Tips?
It's been 8 years.
8 years.
8 years
Wow.
that we've been working together as the Tippling Brothers.
It's amazing.
Yep. So we're gonna jump into this. We encourage anybody who is watching to participate, to ask questions, to pay very close attention, because somebody at the end of this will walk away with a special prize, which we will discuss in just a second. Well,
I think today is a perfect day too. It's Cinco de Mayo.
It is
Happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody.
Yeah, definitely one of our favorite holidays because we do deal so heavily. Oh, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, we're very close. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. We're starting a little early.
It's past noon.
We are the Tippling Brothers, so we always kind of have to be tippling. So Cinco de Mayo is definitely one of our favorite holidays because it means we get to shake up and sell lots and lots of margaritas, other tequila and mezcal based cocktails, the things that we love very, very much.
Correct. If you guys didn't know, we were obviously involved in a couple of Mexican places called Mercadito.
Yeah.
Chicago, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Was once upon a time in New York, but soon to be probably coming again. So definitely Mexico is close to our heart.
Yeah.
Agave spirits are close to our heart too. So.
And close to this. Yeah. This is kind of the reason that we are here today. This is our brand spanking new cocktail book called Tippling Brothers, A Lime and a Shaker, Discovering Mexican-Inspired Cocktails. We're very excited.
Who came up with that line anyway?
Discovering Mexican-Inspired cocktails. I think so. I'm going to give myself credit.
Yeah? Yeah. It wasn't me, that's for sure.
Yeah. Then it was definitely.
So right now we're at El Regional, a place that we're consulting on in Midtown New York.
In Hell's Kitchen on 50th and 10th.
Beautiful place.
Yep. It is. It's funny. It's a little bit of a departure for us. It's Tex-Mex, very authentic Tex-Mex, which is different than straight Mexican cuisine, regional Mexican cuisine. But it does mean there's lots and lots of great tequila and mezcal cocktails here. So if you are in New York, please come and visit El Original on 50th and 10th. This is where we'll be all day today, practicing the fine art of batchology, which we actually own the domain. We own the domain name for, but we'll put out several hundred margaritas today, and then several hundred more of the different menu cocktails that we have here. So very, very exciting day, big day for tequila drinkers.
Exactly. So why the book, A Lime and a Shaker? Obviously our love of agave spirits definitely it helped us towards this direction, but obviously with the Mexican restaurants, we had so many recipes with tequila and mezcal that it just made sense for us to go in that direction.
Yeah.
I think the publishers did an amazing job. It's available on Amazon.com. It's available on our website, tipplingbrothers.com.
Which we highly recommend you visit because then you get a little more info on who we are and what we do as well. But we should probably talk about that a little bit, I would think.
What, Tippling Brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I mean, you're here to hang out with us, aren't you? This is the Tippling Brothers Google Hangout. So you're going to hear about us whether you like it or not. I guess you.
So 8 years in the making.
Yeah.
Ted and I, we first met doing the bar program, BAR.
Beverage Alcohol Resource.
Correct. We were invited to the first one, and we actually sat next to each other. I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but we scored pretty high, and
top two.
Top
from
two?
what we were told.
Yes, I think that's all. Yes, we'll see. Anyway, and then you know, it was about 5 of us that talked about forming a company, a consulting company, a beverage consulting company, and we were the only ones that had the balls to really just do it. You know,
took us about a year too. After we finished this course, beverage alcohol resource is kind of the one and only real spirits and cocktails accreditation kind of course that exists in the U.S. and it's led by people who are our mentors, and just absolutely the pinnacle of spirits knowledge, service, cocktails, things like that. So once we finished it, we talked on the phone for, I would say, the better part of a year. We both realized that we shared the same vision and the same goal, that we were incredibly passionate about the restaurants, the bar industry, spirits, cocktails, and that we wanted to kind of cast a wider net and share what we'd love to do with as many people as possible. And then I remember there was a day in early December, we'd been talking and talking and talking and just said, you know what, screw it.
Let's do it.
Let's do this. And I went in and quit my job. All did the same thing. And
six-figure job.
Then went,
six-figure job.
Then went and told my wife just before Christmas. You know, what a decision. But the next day we kind of unofficially hung our shingle out on a nail. 8 years later, we're still going strong. The phone started ringing and it never stopped. And
it's been an amazing trip.
It hasn't been. And continues to be an amazing trip. So that's the story of Tippling Brothers. Who we are, what we do. You know, we started Tippling Brothers effectively to be a beverage consultancy, to work with restaurants, with hotels, to do large-scale events, to do educational things and lecturing and things like that, and to work with brands as well. And we've been doing all of those things very solidly for 8 years. And it's funny because it seems that we learn to wear all kinds of hats because people come to us with things that we've never done before, and we accept the challenges and we kind of move off into a different direction. I always wear hats. Paul never wears hats, but collectively we wear a lot of hats.
Great hair.
Yep. Great hair.
But it's so funny, you know, talking about consulting. You know, I think after 8 years of being in the business, like we still struggle. Like, what do we charge? What do we charge for this job? Like it's been a struggle for all these years, you know. It's like it's not as simple and you know, cut and paste as being a lawyer. You know, it's like, what do people want to pay for bringing experts to the table? You know.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's
like, there's never been a benchmark. When we started, there were a handful of other people doing it. Again, people who were our mentors, but there was really no benchmark. So anybody who was doing it, we were all calling each other like, hey, what would you charge to do a cocktail list and a wine list and build out the bar and do this and do that? Yeah. It's gotten a little bit easier, I would say, over the years, and a little bit more
probably, you know,
definite.
Like, you know, we know what our rate is.
We do. We do indeed. That we'll share with you if you're interested in our services. You can give us a call or visit tipplingbrothers.com and we'll share that with you. But you know, so consulting has been our main thing, but over the years and along the way, we got back kind of into the restaurant business as partners with Mercadito Hospitality and the restaurants in Chicago, and we have Tippling Hall also in Chicago, who we're partners in, and then we have a bar here in New York called the Tippler that we opened and built out and did all the cocktails for and are partners in. So we got out of the restaurant business to start consulting, to cast a wider net, to get back into the restaurant business, but this time have a little bit more clout behind our names and people listen to what we do a little more, and we're very grateful for that.
But I think it's so much fun, you know, like I don't know anything else, you know, 30 years in the business, that, you know, this is what I know, you know. It's like it feels comfortable, it feels, you know, feels fresh, and you know what, it's gotten harder. I don't know, because it's age,
maybe for you,
you know.
For me, but B12
yeah. But it's an amazing business. It's a place where you can be super creative. You could have a lot of fun. It's you know, you're always young in this business, I feel, you know. And the people I work with, it's just amazing.
Yeah. Most days I don't feel like I have a job. Most days, because there are plenty. I mean, given what we do and the fun that we have, There are certainly days where we start at 7 in the morning, don't end till 9, and the whole day is spent on the computer, answering emails, writing proposals, and things like that.
What's up with that? The computer, man? We're always on the computer.
I don't know what is up with the computer tips. Anyway, we just got a question, and we'll answer that in a minute. Feel free, please, to ask questions at any time, comments, concerns. If you want to talk about how handsome Paul is or how tall I am, feel free. Let's quickly, Paul mentioned he's been in the restaurant business for 30 years. He's significantly older than I am. So I have been in the business just a few years less. I think both of us, or I've been in the business for 25 plus years. Spent my life in the restaurant business, done some other things along the way, but I grew up starting in restaurants when I was 14, kind of as a utility player, dishwasher, busser, server, pizza delivery guy, service bartender.
Still looks like one.
Yeah, service. I'm a Jersey kid. Service bartender, all these things, and kind of worked my way up in the restaurant, and worked my way into being a bartender when I was, officially when I was around 20 or so. Bartended in New Jersey, New York, Dublin, Ireland, kind of all over the place. For the most part, when I was young, the restaurant business, like it is for many people, was a means to an end. I was pursuing other things. In a different life, I was an actor in New York City.
He still is,
and
actually. He still is.
And doing what I did in the restaurant business supported that, but I always had a profound love for it, for the idea of hospitality and
Robert De Niro.
Come
on, Robert De Niro.
Truly showing some, thank you for that. Showing somebody a great experience was always very important to me. And I would say about 15 years ago, I went to work for Windows on the World, which was a restaurant on the top of the former World Trade Center. And I was the assistant cellar rat. So I was the guy who made the sommeliers look good. I was running between floors, grabbing bottles of wine, heading down to the basement, stocking the wine cellars, doing all kinds of stuff. And it was a completely there was nothing glorious about the job, but I truly fell in love with the idea of beverage service and spirits and wine and cocktails, and knew that when I was there, I was making $125 a week, that this was my calling, and I knew that I could excel in this business, and decided to make it my life's goal.
That's a beautiful story. It's a beautiful story.
So since then, I really fell in love. Maybe fell out of love a little bit with the wine side, and much more so with the spirit side and the cocktail side.
Probably the best mixologist I've ever worked with.
I love it. I love my tipsy. Thank you.
So, I got my start. I grew up in the business. My mom owned a restaurant for close to 30 years. My grandmother was a chef in restaurants in the 60s. So it kind of gives you an idea of my background. But I cooked for many years. Probably, I have a couple of passions besides what I do, my job. Hockey being one of them.
Yeah.
School Rangers. But I love to cook.
He's pretty damn good at it.
I love to cook. But that, that side of me just, kind of transformed into beverage, wine, as Tad said, I started as a, cellar rat, just had the opportunity to taste a lot of wines. We were doing about 100 wines a week, in my first job in New York, and never stopped, never looked back, and, it's been a whirlwind. Yeah.
Should we take our first question over here?
Yeah.
So Jeremiah Holt, thank you for joining us, Jeremiah, has asked us a question, and that is, what are your thoughts on dealing with clients with allergies, with different allergies on the rise? This is something I've dealt with in my events. It's a good question, and it definitely is something that we've seen in bars, not so much at events, because events are more kind of pre-planned. Lots of times we batch cocktails in advance, thousands and thousands of them if they're large scale for something like Aspen Food and Wine. So you don't really have the opportunity to tailor something for somebody, but behind the bar you certainly can. I say the easiest way to solve that problem is to convince somebody to drink tequila or mezcal. People have all these worries about glutens in spirits and things. And with tequila and mezcal, you never have to worry about it. So there's one very short and very direct answer to your question. So thank you for.
Well, I think also you have to, it's something that should be approached beforehand. Waiters and bartenders should ask people if they have any allergies to food and stuff like that. And as you said, it seems to be on the rise. Why? I don't know, but yeah, let's make some stuff up. But hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, and then obviously there's certain things like eggs, dairy, anything like that. If you are going to add them to cocktails for any sort of menu, it's a good idea to always kind of call it out. Most menus these days, if they use egg whites, will say, put an asterisk and say this contains egg whites, consuming raw or undercooked eggs, things like that. Beyond that, I found that most kind of discerning tipplers have figured out what they can and can't drink, and what's worse than that, or almost more fun or more comical sometimes, is the people who say, "Oh, I'm allergic to gin," or I'm allergic to simple syrup, so I just want tequila and lime juice." The skinny thing it's a thorn in our sides, definitely, and it comes up a lot at our different bars, especially with the margarita.
What's your take on agave?
On agave?
Yeah.
On agave nectar?
Yeah, agave nectar. Yeah.
Agave nectar. That's a good question, Tips. We use a lot of agave nectar. Should I answer you?
Yeah.
Well, we actually use a lot of agave nectar at the Mexican. Oh, it's going to get loud here, by the way. We're starting to set up for Cinco de Mayo, so if you can't hear us, please let us know, and we'll try to get closer.
Cinco.
But agave nectar is a great sweetener. It adds a little viscosity, a little flavor, and it definitely adds body. So we use it for those reasons.
I agree with that.
Yeah. We don't use it because it is an alternative sweetener or because it's any healthier than any other sugar, because let's face it, it's not. It actually is being shown now that it has as much fructose as high fructose corn syrup, so it can't be called out as a health claim or anything like that, but it is delicious in cocktails and it works very well.
Yeah. I think viscosity wise, it's, probably it's calling call, it's really what makes agave nectar in a cocktail amazing. It's just the viscosity.
Yeah. Viscosity is good. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Here's another interesting little tidbit too. What is tippling? What is a tippler? What is to tipple? We get asked this question a lot because, as we mentioned earlier, most people say, "Oh, I met your brother Paul. So both of your last names are Tippling?" To which we have to tell our story, but
I'm actually going to try to change my name
legally to the Tippling Bros.
Tippling.
Yeah, I'm getting it tattooed on my back.
Oh yeah,
big back piece. Sons, tipplers of anarchy. So to tipple means to drink fairly consistently in small amounts, or to have a perpetual buzz. Now, I know that we all have family members once or twice removed maybe who were tipplers, who always had the rosy cheeks, always had the smile on the face and the kind of barfly jokes, So that's what tippling is, or that's what to tipple is. We called our company Tippling Brothers because we wanted to have this kind of almost a throwback feel. We liked the idea of having something in Sons or something in Brothers. Paul came up with Tippling Brothers one day, and we just knew that it was the perfect name for us. And it really alludes to, while it means we can be jocular and jovial, and if we have a drink in our hands, we have an excuse because of our business name. Cheers to that. Cheers. We also look at it as being able to kind of tipple knowledge on a daily basis, because we believe that we are always learning. The second you know everything about something is the second you should be done with it and move on to something else. So it's kind of tippling knowledge, taking in little pieces of knowledge here and there. So that's why we are Tippling Brothers. Now, again, back to the book and the reason that we are with you today. Again, thanks to Tales 365 and the Tales of the Cocktail for having us. So allow me to shake it. What is this little book about that, as Paul said, is available on Amazon.com or TipplingBrothers.com or at your favorite finer retailer everywhere? Please help us put our kids through college.
Yes, please. Beautiful book.
So allow me to shake it. Again, our profound love.
Look, the Smoky Pablo.
Yeah. Our profound love of agave
named
spirits.
After me.
Named after Paul. I named it after Paul. Our profound love of agave spirits, both tequila and mezcal, and the kind of traditions, the processes, everything that goes into making them, we really wanted to celebrate in in addition to other Mexican, kind of indigenous Mexican ingredients like chilies and limes and cucumbers and
It's a beautiful picture.
Thank you. I don't know what to say. Thank you. I didn't take it, but all these different ingredients we really wanted to celebrate. I mean, Mexican cuisine, Mexican culture, it's so vibrant and it's so celebratory. If you go to Mexico, people are, oh God, people are always celebrating something.
Correct.
And it's always a huge family event, and there, there's tons of food and there's tons of drink, and we just kind of fell in love with that. So that's part of the reason behind the book. What you'll find in the book is, I think we did 72, about 72, 75, something like that, different tequila and mezcal recipes, or recipes that include other ingredients. There are some variations on micheladas and different beer cocktails and things like that. We also have several non-alcoholic recipes for agua frescas, horchata, things like that in the book. We give recipes for all of our preparations, all of our syrups, all of our anything that we kind of house make. We have recipes for. Great question coming up. It's recipes for food as well. So it's really an all-in-one, one-stop shopping book for Cinco de Mayo, for summertime. Great for Christmas gifts, holiday gifts for your friends and family as well. It does not come with sombreros. Those you'll have to buy yourself, but it covers pretty much every other base within the category. So now, we have another question again from Jeremiah Holt Jr. And this is, what about the other agave spirit, Raicilla? That's a great question. Raicilla is something that we are just starting to see more of coming in. There are a few brands on the market in the States now, but Raicilla, Bacanora, Sotol, these are all other agave-based spirits, mezcals, if you will, that are becoming more popular in the States and are very popular in Mexico. Raicilla is something that also, like tequila, comes from Jalisco. Tequila comes from Tequila and the surrounding areas in the state of Jalisco and Mexico. Raicilla comes from other parts of Mexico. It doesn't have the same denomination that tequila does, so it can't be called tequila. Made from several different species of agave, made in a slightly different fashion. It's a very funky, very interesting,
beautiful spirit.
Our good friend Art Torn actually brings in a brand called La Venenosa with a couple different ones, a couple different marks, and they're really, really special, very special. I don't, so far we're not making cocktails with them so much because they're a little pricey, and they're really more for sipping and experiencing on their own, just like most mezcals are, I think. We are, like most other bartenders, I think we're very hot and heavy about Mezcal from Oaxaca and from other places because they're just so incredibly rich and complex and interesting spirits, very funky, and they're delicious. But many of them, because they're so kind of artisanally made, handmade, they're very expensive.
We should talk about Mezcal a little bit because Tad and I were just there in December in Oaxaca, and what I found interesting is there's so many different, varieties and species of agave. But I think that the danger of what we're going to be facing is that, like, a lot of these are like wild agaves and they're not being replanted. So, like the sustainability of these agaves is just impossible.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. And is this the heyday? Is this right now the heyday for us?
I sure hope not.
Because you have agaves like Tempestate, it's beautiful agave, but it grows on the side of a mountain, So once you pick it, you don't replant it, it's gone.
Yeah. But there are measures in place. There are groups that are incredibly concerned about that very thing, about the sustainability of wild agave. People are starting to plant wild species. Again, just to kind of clarify that, tequila has to be made in tequila in Jalisco or in the highlands. It has to be made from blue agave. It doesn't have to be 100% blue agave, but the ones that any of us are concerned about have to be 100% blue Weber agave. That's the only one that can be used in tequila production. In Mezcal, I think currently it's up to 28 or 30 different species, subspecies, or varieties of agave that can be used in production. Espadín is kind of the most common, but there are wild agave like Tobola, Tempestate, Tobasiche, Araqueño, all these different things that have beautiful expression and are very distinct from one another, that are being used in mezcal production. So that's what makes it so special. It's also that lack of sustainability and the fact that they're wild harvested from these incredibly harsh conditions and places is what makes it so expensive too. So I think a lot of us see some mezcals, we're blown away by some of the prices, but there's so much artisanship and blood and sweat that goes into these bottles in these small single village mezcals that it's just such ethereal, beautiful.
No, it's insane.
Stuff.
Tanner and I, we've been to so many distilleries all over the world. You know, take Japan. Remember when we went to Japan?
I don't.
No?
Oh, yes, I do.
Like, probably one of the cleanest places I've ever been in. It was just like pristine, you know. Then we go to these distilleries in Mexico. It's just like dirt.
Yeah, no, it's incredible.
Dirt by the river.
Yeah, some of the mezcal.
It's incredible.
Palenques are the modern ones are so primitive. You know, they're basically in huts using very crude stills. They're fermented in these, you know, open wooden vats using natural yeast and things, and the conditions are incredibly primitive. But also, that's how they've been done for hundreds of years, and they're not changing. So that's cool, fantastic. We love that.
No, to measure alcohol levels with bubbles.
Really? Are you going to expound on that, or are you just going to leave it at that? You, dear viewer, can look up what he's talking about when the Palenqueros measure
Shall we make a move to the bar?
Well, why don't you? I'm going to jump to the bar. We're going to make a couple cocktails because what would be the fun if we weren't? While that happens, Paul's going to kind of flip through the book, show you a couple pictures, and talk about what it's about.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So, lime in a shaker. Basically, the idea of the book is to focus on tequila and mezcal. We divided the book into, I think, cool categories. We did tradition. Obviously, you can find a Paloma. You can find a margarita. Craft, a little bit more intense. Spice is something that we've always loved to play with. There's a cool section on all these chilies that we use in cocktails. Celebration, obviously, probably more party focused. And then hold the booze, you tell me, these are non-alcoholic cocktails. And then there's all the syrups, salts, and concoctions that go into the cocktails are available in the back of the book. Again, I think the publishers did a great job. It's available again on Amazon.com. Look at that. Smoky Pablo, named after me. A couple of stories. There are some food items in the book. I got my poutine taco, being Quebecois. There's some guacamole. We talked about batchology earlier on. It's in there. So $18.99. All right, let me take you to the bar. What? You're not, but I'm coming. Here you go.
Going on it? Okay, so here we are, behind the bar. Okay. Another question from Jeremy Holt, from Jeremiah Holt. Are you two going to add molecular mixology applications in your next book? That's a good question. I would go with probably not. Nothing would be overly scientific. I mean, there are certain applications I think that work that we've done over the course of the years, but probably not in the next one. We have an idea what the next one's going to be. We'll probably do a second version of this book, but we have an idea what the next one's going to be, and I doubt there'll be too much molecular, but maybe you've given us a little inspiration. So thank you for that. Now, I am behind the bar here at El Original Tex-Mex.
What are you making, Tips?
On 50th and 10th. That's a good question, Tips. In New York City. It's a great Tex-Mex spot. It's Cinco de Mayo. We've got lots of cocktails, so I have bartenders kind of prepping and
Cinco de Mayo
working around us. So hopefully it's not going to be too loud. But we're going to make a couple quick cocktails. The first of which, if we're talking about a lime in a shaker, we're talking about this book. The first thing we should really be talking about is the margarita, I think. Here, pardon my adjustments. Lips are so close. is the margarita. Now, if you pick up the book, A Lime in the Shaker, we have a couple different recipes for the margarita that we stand by, that we love. And there it is again. There it is again. Yeah, just put it right in front of me wherever I go. So we have a couple different variations of the margarita in the book. Today we're going to do a slightly different variation to just show you how to have fun. You know, the margarita is a terrific kind of platform for cocktails to be able to be creative. So today I'm going to show you one pretty simple one. Now, first things first, we're going to show you a little trick that's become kind of a Tippling Brothers signature, and it's how we salt the glass. We do it at most of our restaurants, and if you're doing drinks at home, it's a great way to salt your glass, to be able to have glasses out for a party, use different salts if you like. And if somebody can let us know if it's too loud, if you can't hear us, we can move closer via asking a question. We'd be appreciative of that. But let me show you how we rim a glass here. We take an orange, cut the bottom off, then cut it in half and put it in a dish so it stays kind of a stable base. Then we have salt. You can take regular coarse salt, put it in a little dish, maybe put some chili in there, some sugar, and spice things up a little bit, and put those in a shallow dish as well. Then it's very easy. Pick up the glass, roll it halfway on the orange, and then roll it halfway in the salt, like this. Then tap it off.
Terrible job.
Then tap it off.
Terrible job.
And you've got half the glass rimmed, half the glass stays kind of naked. That way you never have to ask a guest if they prefer salt or don't prefer salt. And you give your guests kind of two different experiences too. The other thing you could also do, take the other half of the glass, roll it into a different salt, and you can kind of have two different salts on.
Well, that's fancy.
On one glass.
That's super fancy.
Thanks, buddy. Two different salts on one glass. So now we're going to build a margarita. I want you to watch what we do when we build. We call it building from the tips.
Bottom up?
From the bottom up or from the ground up. And we do this. We encourage all bartenders to do this and people doing this at home. So we start with our least expensive ingredients first, usually citrus or a syrup. We're going to do an ounce of lime juice. Then an ounce, for this, a half an ounce of simple syrup. So I have my two least expensive ingredients first. Reason for this is if I added an ounce and a half of lime juice versus an ounce, I could just throw it out, and all I'm throwing away is a couple cents worth of ingredients. However, had I put my tequila in prior to that, and then put an ounce and a half of lime juice, I've just royally pissed off the bar manager, the owner of the establishment, and everybody else involved, because the liquor costs go through the roof. Same thing at home. Tequila is precious, and we don't want to waste it. So the next ingredient that's going to go into this variation of the margarita, so we have an ounce of lime juice, half an ounce of simple syrup, is Royal Combier. This is a great, delicious liqueur to give kind of added dimension to a margarita. It starts with a triple sec base, an orange liqueur base, has cognac in it, and then also acts kind of like an herbal liqueur because it's aromatized with different botanicals. So it gives it this really intriguing complexity that people don't necessarily expect in a margarita. So a half an ounce of that. So we've got 1 ounce of citrus, 1 ounce of sweet in our simple syrup and our orange liqueur, and then we're going to go 2 ounces of tequila. For this one today, we're using Cabeza. Which is the 86 company, good friends of ours. It's a great tequila for margaritas, for all kinds of cocktails. Now, that formula that we just used, 2-1-1. 2-1-1. That's it's a great benchmark for margaritas or other sours. 2-1-1. 2 parts of strong, 1 part of sweet, 1 part of sour. From there, you can always adjust, but it's a great starting point for any margarita. All right, now this we shake. Fresh ice. Fun. Cinco de Mayo, baby.
Cinco de Mayo.
A day in the life of a restaurateur.
Yes.
Okay, now we strain that over fresh ice. Fresh ice is important. Give your drink
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. A reason to be fresh and bright and lively. Now, limes. We like to have fun with our limes too, and what we do is take them, cut it into a traditional wedge, but give it a little mullet, a little orange mullet, or lime mullet. Sit it on the edge of the glass, and there you have a beautiful margarita. Tips, would you like to be the official taster?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have questions about the margarita? We are happy to answer them. Should we talk about the margarita, or should we wait till we go back there? We're going to talk about the genesis of the margarita and how it came to be in a couple minutes.
Delicious.
Is it delicious?
Yeah.
Allow me to try.
2-1-1. Winner.
It is delicious. It is delicious, if I do say so myself. So, the margarita is a... thanks, Peanut Gallery. Yes, so we can hear the back. So, the margarita is a great platform for creativity. It's, of course, beautiful and pristine in its own state. But to then be able to take that idea and get creative, the possibilities are really kind of infinite. What we're going to do is riff off of this and do...
What are you going to make?
We're going to do a drink that we do here at El Original called La Poblanita. And it's essentially a margarita made with pureed poblano chilies and a little bit of green habanero sauce. And it's become incredibly popular here. It's bright, it's refreshing and colorful. You'll see that in a second. So again, taking the idea of building from the ground up, I'm going to take an ounce of lime juice into the shaker. Again, pretty much the 2-on-1 base here.
So it's a Stanley Cup?
This gets an ounce of simple syrup. And then, give me a little Japanese music. Then we have some poblano puree that we just made up. Take an ounce of that. So this recipe is very, very easy. Ounce of lime juice, ounce of simple syrup, ounce of poblano puree. We're going to take a couple of dashes of one of our very, very favorite things in the world, if you can see that. We love adding hot sauce to cocktails. This one especially works beautifully in cocktails.
It's so bright. It's so fresh.
It's a green habanero sauce. It doesn't have a lot of vinegar, so it really tastes like habaneros. And it gives a good amount of heat, but it doesn't kill you. So we just really add a drop or so of that. So we have our base there. That's our Poblanita base. Then for this one, we're going to use Excelia, which is another tequila kind of imported by a friend of ours, made beautifully in the highlands of Mexico and finished in Sauterne and cognac casks. So it really adds a lot of dimension to a cocktail. We're going to finish this bottle off with 2 ounces of that. So ounce of lime juice, ounce of simple syrup, ounce of poblano puree, 1 drop of Yucateco green habanero sauce. Grab a glass. And then 2 ounces of Excelia or tequila of choice. This one needs a good shake to bring the poblano to life and really pop the color. Okay, and you're going to see in a second that the color is this beautiful, vibrant green. Kind of looks like, I'll date myself, but Ecto Cooler. If anybody remembers that. But it tastes a hell of a lot better, I can tell you that. So the way we finish this off is to take some fresh cilantro. Cilantro, if you're using it for a party or behind the bar, if you just break the stems off, put it into some really cold water and leave it there, it should stay for several hours and not wilt. Granted, you need to have really fresh cilantro to start, but we just garnish it with a little bit of fresh cilantro, and that is the Poblanita.
Beautiful.
As we said, you can find this here at El Original Tex-Mex on 50th and 10th in New York City. What do you think, Tips?
That then I can see.
Not too bad.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Gorgeous. What's that over there?
Oh, that feels so good. Oh, what is that right there? I don't know. Maybe go grab a bottle. I think somebody just dropped us off a gift.
Oh my God.
We have a special surprise visitor before we make our next cocktail. Look at this. People ask us all the time what our favorite tequila is, and obviously we try to be diplomatic about it. But there is one that somebody literally just rolled in and put these on the bar right out of camera. So this we won't be diplomatic about. Siete Leguas.
Siete Leguas.
We love it. It's a beautifully produced tequila around us in the highlands of Mexico.
It's such a great cocktail.
Thank you. Thank you, Tips. Okay, now we're gonna do one more, and this is gonna be a mezcal cocktail because
Mezcal. What's
mezcal is near and dear to our hearts and livers. We love it.
What's mezcal?
Very, very much.
Tell us.
Well, to reiterate, mezcal is a spirit distilled from agave, or maguey, as the old Zapotec word for agave. All tequila, all agave spirits are technically called mezcal, but the mezcal that we think about comes, generally speaking, from Oaxaca and is made from one of 28 or 30 different varieties of agave. That's one of the main differences between mezcal and tequila. The other main difference is that most of them, 95% of them, are the piñas of the agave are roasted in the ground over mesquite or oak hardwood coals and covered up so that they roast almost like a pig roast would. So they imparts this incredible smoky flavor to the agave and then to the mezcal.
So when you think about mezcal, you think about the smokiness you would find in certain scotches.
Yeah.
Same kind of idea. So a little bit different and really cool to play with in cocktails,
Yeah, so it can be difficult to play with in cocktails. A lot of people aren't necessarily used to the very smoky profile or the very earthy, funky, but sometimes very delicate and intricate flavors in mezcal. So you kind of have to tease them into it a little bit. We have a cocktail that we've done at some of our restaurants and bars we're going to do now that we call the Dizzy Hawkin. And this is effectively, it's like a mezcal mule or a mezcal buck, or almost kind of like a Oaxacan dark and stormy. We love this cocktail, and we found that it's a good, maybe not an entry-level cocktail, but sort of mid-level cocktail as an entry point for people who do like mezcal and like things a little bit bitter, but also like things very refreshing and full of flavor. So the Dizzy Oaxacan starts with a half an ounce of lime or lemon juice.
So you can see why the name of our book is called A Lime in a Shaker. We do like lime a lot.
We do like lime. Then a half of an ounce of fresh grapefruit juice. So
grapefruit.
Yeah, half ounce of lime, half ounce of grapefruit. About a quarter of an ounce of simple syrup.
He cheated there. He didn't like.
Yeah. Then we throw in a pinch of cayenne or some other sort of chili pepper. Then we start to get funky here. We use Amaro as the next ingredient. And again, we built this from the ground up. Amaro is the next ingredient. You can use Averna, Ramazotti, Chocharo. We're using Lucano today. You need one that's kind of sweeter, more of a digestivo style, and is a little fuller and rounder. So that's going to be 3/4 of an ounce of that into the tin. And then the fun part, for this drink, we are using Del Maguey Vida Mezcal. It's a really benchmark, beautiful mezcal for use in cocktails. Does not break the bank. It's very reasonable, and it's a terrific cocktail mezcal. And we've seen them make it in Oaxaca. It's a beautiful process, made the same way all the other ones are. So to reiterate, 1/4 ounce of simple syrup, pinch of cayenne, half ounce of lemon or lime, half ounce of grapefruit juice, 3/4 of an ounce of Amaro, and then 1.5 ounces to 2 ounces of mezcal, depending on how much you like mezcal. Ice in there. The last ingredient that we're going to throw in is, actually, no, we'll wait on that. Give this a quick shake. Nice. Yep. Quick shake on that. And then we grab a tall glass, Pilsner glass, Collins glass, anything like that. Fill that with ice. You can use crushed ice on this too, but I kind of like cubed ice a little better for this. Fill the glass. You see it has this beautiful kind of honey color. And then what we'll do there to top this off is to take ginger beer. This is a house-made ginger beer. Actually, no, you know what? This is, we'll give another little plug to Jim Pickett Brothers ginger beer concentrate that we add carbonated water to. It's great. It's really convenient. That gets a quick stir. Kind of incorporate all the ingredients. And then the last step, take a piece of grapefruit. Again, Tippling Bros grapefruit mullet. And then the last little step is to take, this is another ingredient that we love to use in cocktails or for the rim of cocktails. It's called tahini. It's a kind of a tangy chili salt that's customarily used on fruit in Mexico, either on oranges or mangoes.
Actually,
or
Mexicans put it on everything.
Yeah, jicama is great.
Yes.
And so what we do is just take the grapefruit, dust the top of the grapefruit with a little tahini, maybe get a little more on top of the drink. And it's a great little compliment. It adds a little bit of heat, a little bit of zing, and then you can pick up the grapefruit, and that's its own little experience. So that, again, is the Dizzy Hawkin,
Well done.
one of our favorites, and that is in the book. Would you like to try that? Me first? Thank you. Oh. Not so bad if I do say so myself. I'm keeping this one. So it's got smoke, it's got heat, it's got sweet, it's got sour, it's got gingery zing. It's really a lot of fun cocktail. Again, 2 of these recipes are in the book. The Panita is not, but if you like that recipe, we're happy to share it with you. We're gonna head back to the table and keep drinking. All right, how are we doing on time here, Tips? Oh, we only have a couple minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, so anybody who has any questions, we are happy to answer them. Any comments as well, we're happy to field those. What did we want to talk about? The margarita. So the margarita, as we know, especially on a day like today, Cinco de Mayo, is a ragingly popular cocktail. It's become one of the top 2 or 3 cocktails in the country for the last, probably since the late 70s.
Yeah.
It's been incredibly popular. Tequila became popular in the U.S. after Prohibition, really kind of in the 50s. The margarita followed suit. It didn't appear in print until really in its current form until the mid-50s.
What would you say are the top 5, in your opinion?
Cocktails?
Yeah.
Right now?
Yeah.
It's a good question.
You know, like definitely margarita's up there.
Yeah.
Mojito.
Sure, but I think the mojito's waned in popularity over the last few years. The old-fashioned is definitely, and we're talking kind of in cocktail circles.
Yeah.
Old-fashioned is definitely on the rise. Sours of all sorts are on the rise. A lot of other kind of boozy sort of stirred classic cocktail riffs are,
like Manhattans.
Yeah, are on the rise too. But the margarita has always been popular. Now there are multiple stories as to how the margarita got started, who named the margarita, things like that. We talk about a couple of them in the book. One that's very intriguing to me is that there was a Hollywood actress who in the 30s was working in Mexico doing stage shows. So she was there for an extended period of time in Tijuana, and she was an avid fan, an avid supporter of tequila, maybe a little too much. But there was a particular bartender who worked in a hotel bar who had amorous feelings toward her, and to show his kind of admiration for her, he created a cocktail for her, made with tequila. Her name was Margarita Carmen Cancino. So he named it after her. Better known to people in the U.S. as Rita Hayworth. So there's one story that might or might not have some legs. There are a couple of others too that could maybe be true. The one that we really believe in is the fact that pre-Prohibition in the U.S. there was a mixed drink called a Daisy. And a Daisy was some combination of sugar, spirit, sweetener, citrus juice. Back then it was more commonly lemon than lime, but spirit, sweetener, citrus juice, maybe a little grenadine or something like that. Sometimes there was soda thrown in on top too. But it created this base for a cocktail. So the Daisy, whether it was a rye Daisy, a whiskey Daisy, a rum Daisy, things like that, it was very popular. Prohibition hit. Bartenders fled, went to Europe, went to Cuba, went to Mexico. People, barflies, tipplers, if you will, also fled, and the ones who could afford to, who were in the kind of California or the Southwest or Texas, would go to Mexico and drink. And what they would drink was they would call for daisies. There wasn't a lot of variety in terms of spirit. They didn't have a ton of American whiskey or rye or Canadian whiskey or other spirits, but what they did have was Mexican brandy or tequila. So they would make tequila daisies. Now, Prohibition ended, and in the years that followed, when people came back, they started asking for tequila daisies once tequila started to be imported into the States. Now, if you speak Spanish or if you know anything about the lore, daisy in Spanish is
margarita.
Margarita. So that's a story we really think has teeth, the one that we go with most often. So that's the margarita. Now we have a couple questions that we are going to answer as best we possibly can. The first one comes from Mr. Holt again. Would you say that the margarita is proprietarily a tequila cocktail, or do you feel mezcal can be substituted with no issues? That's a very good question.
Yeah.
The margarita is a tequila cocktail. Absolutely. It's always been. But I think it's one of those that's loose. It's kind of loose enough. And again, Mexican cocktails and the culture is very kind of loose and celebratory. I think with mezcal being on the rise as much as it is, it's the kind of cocktail where you really can substitute mezcal. You can fully substitute mezcal and call it a smoky margarita.
Yeah, but it's one of those cocktails. Again, we talked about the 2-1-1. It's a really simple cocktail, the margarita. So to have fun with it is, I think, the whole idea behind the like being innovative and creative. It's really simple to like do something different. You know? And using mezcal is like it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and I think it's one that it's already been bastardized so heavily that there's no coming back from that. So you can kind of have free reign and play around with it. Now, are you going to make a gin Manhattan? I don't think so. But with tequila and mezcal, I think you can play around a little bit. So good question. Next one is from Vivi Caceres, who is asking the Tippling Brothers, what's your personal favorite drink?
Oh my God.
Where's the bottle? I think probably both of us would say, that's a loaded question. We get asked that question all the time. I always kind of wimp out and say it depends on my mood, because it really does. I mean, I drink a ton of beer at home, rosé wine. I drink scotch. We drink all kinds of stuff. It really depends on the mood. But I love a copita of mezcal as much as I love anything else, and that's
a hard one to answer. Like it's really depends what I'm eating, like where I am, who I'm sharing the meal with. I don't know.
What about with me, Tipsy? What's your favorite drink with me? Here's the short answer. Whatever's
in front of us
in our hand is our favorite drink at the time.
Well, you guys have been the best. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we're at the end of our little podcast here.
Oh, is it a podcast? Unless maybe we have time for one more question if somebody has some time. Anybody throw it out
come
there.
on.
Well, in the interim, somebody who is very attentive, and I think I have a feeling who the person might be, is going to get a copy of Alignment Shaker, and we hope that that person
start with the J, no?
It might start with the J. We hope that person enjoys it very much, and we highly encourage you to go out and grab a copy for yourself, and grab 10 or 12 for your loved ones. Again, our kids need to go to college. They're going to need braces at some point. So help us out there. We're reaching out to you, but really, it's we poured our heart and souls in. Wow.
Yes, definitely.
One of our taglines is tipple passionately and responsibly. So please do that today. Enjoy the day with people you love. Drink some mezcal, drink some tequila, eat some tacos and guacamole. If you have the book, the turkey chili recipe or the poutine taco recipe in here,
poutine taco
are pretty tight. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it, and we'll see you around. Out. Do a fade. Fade in. Now fade out. Fade out. Fade out. Fade out. Adios.